Episode 3 of Pace and Space is on deck. It's your boy Jav here alongside the homie Macito. We're here to bring you the latest around the NBA. We appreciate everyone who's pulled in through the first 2 episodes. We already know this YouTube journey is a long one. We didn't come in expecting to do a million first week. But shout out to everybody who's already locked in with us and they enjoying the content. They're giving us the feedback. They're in the comment section. The people who are watching the live stream as it happens. Shout out to everybody who's making this podcast a thing. Myself and Macito, we're going to be doing things on the social media side as far as the shorts. So getting on Twitter, getting in them arguments, things of that nature, the YouTube reels, all of these things that we need to do in order to build it. We're going to be doing that because we want this NBA pod to be that next level of NBA discussion. We got the Stat Nerd podcast. We got the Former Player podcast. We don't have that podcast that's somewhere between Stat Nerd and Former Player. We're trying to fill that void. We don't want to just bore you to death with numbers. We want to entertain you, give you some laughs, show some highlights, chop it up, and occasionally throw some stats at you to support our points. Macito, what's the word, man?
Hey, man, I'm over here chilling, another day, another Lakers loss. It's a normal day for me.
Well, they played the Kings, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. The losing streak continues.
There you go. But you know what's funny? Even if these losses happen, I still would take us against the Kings in a playoff series. You know what I mean?
I probably would, to be honest with you. That losing streak against Denver is telling, but for some reason, I don't trust De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis in the playoff series. You know what I mean?
They was packing up Golden State last season, and then they lost at 7. They lost Game 5. They lost Game 5 and 7 at the crib, if I'm not mistaken.
They did. Remember, Draymond was out for a few of those, though.
Draymond was suspended for Game 6, I think it was, right?
Yeah, he was.
So I'm not buying any stock on the Kings. No disrespect to the Sacramento fans. But we just call it how we see it over here. And as you following in, or if you're new here, we need you to hit that like button, run the comments up, and subscribe. Especially like and subscribe. The comments, we already know. Like some people, what I learned about YouTube from my other platform, the Rap Roundtable, you know what I mean, is that people
right over there.
Top rap podcast on the East Coast, double platinum on Twitter. I'll let your boy. You know what I'm saying? But we've learned that people hesitate to comment. They either hesitate in the beginning, but then once they feel comfortable commenting, they rain the comments. So in the midst of you trying to figure us out, the best way to do that is to hit that like button. It's free. Hit that subscribe button. It's free, and help us continue to grow the brand. We're around 66 subs right now. I'd like to get to 100 in the next couple of weeks, and then get from 100 to 500, from 500 to 1,000. So let's do that. But they not hear about the pleasantries, Macy. They want to hear some good NBA talk. And I have a question for you in the NBA fandom abroad.
What's that?
Is Luka Doncic overrated? Luka Magic, right? In episode 1, you put him in your MVP ladder, right?
Yeah.
And let's be clear, this is not a puff piece where we're gonna bash him, like when you do those anti-LeBron podcasts and you talk about how overrated he is and things of that nature. I'm just begging the question because I feel like it needs to be asked. We see the numbers. We see like 6 straight games of triple doubles.
Right.
And the thing is, these are loaded triple doubles. These ain't them Westbrook triple doubles with poor shooting. He's giving you the 3-point shots. He's giving you the mid range work. He's giving you the step backs. His 30+ triple doubles, big time rebounds, big time assists. The true shooting is there. You know what I'm saying? The assist to turnover ratio is there during this triple double scenario. Right. But what about the wins and the losses? At this point, Mace, I'm gonna put it on wax, and I'm prepared to walk it back in the future if I have to. But I'm starting to look at Luka Doncic as another empty calorie superstar. He can get his stats, but it doesn't necessarily equate to winning games. What do you say to that?
Jaws, I know good podcasting is disagreeing, but for right now, when I think about it, let's get right into it. Luka is a little overrated, man. He's a little overrated. He is.
Didn't expect you to say that, Mace. I ain't gonna lie.
Listen, man, and I'm a Luka fan. You know what I'm saying? I'm a Luka fan, but I had to be real with myself here. You know what I mean? Because, listen, They 6-5 since the All-Star break, right? We want to speak
Okay.
about the wins and losses, right? Look, the triple doubles are triple double, and the numbers are numbering, y'all. I'm not gonna lie to, and just the thing is, I don't want to call him an empty calorie superstar because these are legitimate numbers. People are guarding them. People are trying their best to stop him. You know what I mean? But listen, I was hearing at the top of the year that Luka is better than Prime Harden. You know what I mean? I was hearing that Luka is already the best point guard in the league over Steph. You know what I mean? So when I think about overrated, it's bloviation like that. You know what I'm saying? It's talk like that. You know what I mean? You say you feel like he's an empty calorie superstar, though, y'all. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that he's getting on the court. He's doing what he does to support his team and leading them to victory. But at the same time, I'm seeing a situation where are the wins? It's cool to get 30 points. It's cool to get 15 assists, 10 rebounds, have a true shooting of like 65% for the game. But right. if the win-loss category, the losses is coming in with these nice numbers, what is it all for, Mace? That's my question.
Listen, at the end of the day, I'm gonna partially blame, you know, the Mavericks organization. They clearly aren't putting the players around him that he needs. You know what I mean? Listen, I get PJ Washington is on the team. You know what I mean? I get Gafford is doing his thing. You know, Kyrie, you know what I mean? Kyrie hasn't really, you know, been in, you know, impactful to a winning situation in about 5 or 6 years. To be honest, and I love Kyrie, you know what I mean?
Oh, the Brooklyn Nets were good, bro. Don't do that.
They were good. They were good in them 13 games they played together. You know,
that was with James Harden. Kyrie and them before, you know, last season. Let's be fair now, Mace. Last season, before Kyrie saw the same things that certain people didn't agree with, the Nets were on a trajectory to come out of the East. Don't do that.
Hey man, I'm just calling it like I said. You know what I mean? I haven't seen him play, you know, a game that really mattered since he was next to, you know, what your boy Shannon likes to call GOAT James. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. You know, but listen, I get it. Tim Hardaway, you know what I mean? Skillful, but no IQ is really there. You know what I mean? Derek Lively, that was a good pickup because he did need a lob threat. You know what I mean? But, you know, it's like they're getting good players, but they aren't keeping impactful players. Porzingis is gone in a winning situation somewhere else. They couldn't even offer Jalen Brunson a minimal amount of money in today's NBA. You know what I mean? Why didn't you keep Jalen Brunson? He's impactful to winning over in New York. So, okay. Luka, I'm going to have to blame the organization a little bit. You know what I mean? Overrated on the all-time talks, but not within the league. I blame it on the Mavericks.
That's crazy. So now you said that, you know, you was trying to come here and talk the truth, but you flip-flopping. I thought we was keeping it real about Luka. You know what I mean? And you know what? For the sake of levity, you could argue that Dallas didn't do right with putting the talent around them, et cetera, et cetera. But this team on paper is better than the team that got to the conference finals 2 years ago. Last year they missed the playoffs. Right now I think they're somewhere around the 8th seed, and they're another bad 2-week stretch from missing the playoffs, and they don't have injury as a crutch. In fact, you're having Luka approaching what we like to call the peak of his powers. So you're telling me Luka at the peak of his powers can't drag a team to the playoffs? You've been watching this heliocentric, offensive-minded player do great things, but it's like, what about the defense? There's so much footage out there. This man just loafing on defense. The lateral movement on defense is questionable. He's preserving energy for offense. He pounds the ball a lot in the half court. And then you get into a situation when you have a heliocentric player that's not LeBron James, God-gifted freak of nature, a guy who might need to dribble a lot more than LeBron does to get to his spots. So that means whenever it's Kyrie's turn, he got to do his thing so he can get his 26 a night. What about the rest of the players? There's no rhythm here. It's like you can't plug and play Luka Doncic. You have to have a very specific system for a Luka. And in fact, I think with the stat getting, the ball pounding, the time of possession, I believe he's top 5 in time of possession in the NBA right now. He has a number 1 usage rate at 35.5 a game in the NBA right now. He's dominating the action. And if you're telling me he's dominating the action, and they're an 8th seed in the Western Conference, then I have to call them overrated. These stats don't mean anything if they're not winning.
I mean, at the end of the day, winning matters, right?
Yes.
I'm not gonna get away from that. But at the end of the day, Job, isn't this up to the organization to put the pieces around a generational talent like this? I mean, listen, at the end of the day, to me, Luka is actually in the middle of his peak right now. I compare him more closely to like, the high school players that came in where they played professionally in their teens. So like I can't imagine Luka getting much better than 34, 10, and 9, right? You know what I
Okay.
mean? So I think he's at his peak right now, and so I think it's is a thing that the Mavericks have to do is put the right pieces around him. Because at the end of the day, y'all, Michael Jordan, I'm not trying to call Luka magic like Jason Kidd did, but it's like his first 6 years, he put up extraordinary numbers. He did crazy things. But the Bulls organization, no, we have to put a certain type of system around them. We need the Phil Jackson. We need the triangle. You know what I mean? We got to put the shackles on the guy a little bit. You know what I mean? So it's like, I get it. A great player is always gonna want to have the ball, right? It's up to the
Right.
coaches. It's up to the organization to really figure out what pieces you put around them to make that work.
So what you're saying to me is, at this moment, for the sake of clarity, Luka Doncic, according to Mace, is not overrated and is in fact the Dallas Mavericks' responsibility to put the right team around him.
Listen, I'll say he's overrated when people are talking about all-time talks, right? When Jason
Okay.
Kidd say, "Hey, there's Michael Jordan, there's Kobe, there's LeBron, there's Luka," that's a little too far for me. You know what I mean? Because there's been a lot of great, all-time great talents, but there's a lot of people in the league that have already proved. You know what I mean? What puts him over KD? You know what I mean? What puts him over Hakeem Olajuwon? You know what I mean? But as far as the talent level and what he can produce, I don't think he's overrated. I don't think he's producing empty calorie stats. And I do think that he can be clearly the best piece on a winning team. You know what I mean? The Mavericks are just doing a bad job. You know what I mean? It's like Cleveland did with LeBron, right? You just put the ball in his hand and say, take a stay. You know what I mean? They've been so scared to lose him. They gave him the big contract. They get rid of everybody who gets on his nerves. You got to push back against your superstar. You know what I mean? And the Mavericks are just kind of, capitulating to him these days.
You know what? From my perspective, based on what you said, no caveats, no bail. As a current basketball player, all time or right now in the NBA, he's overrated. For the same reasons you just listed, his team is capitulating to him. They did get rid of the Grant Williams. They did bring in Kyrie Irving, one of the best in the league, one of the most skilled in the league. They've given you shooters. They've given you bigs. They've done everything you've asked. They've tried to get active at the deadlines in years past. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, if you are him, then you need to do him things. And right now, you're not doing him things by being an 8th seed in the Western Conference, putting up big stats. And the situation is, there's a bunch of other guys who are not in rhythm. They're not contributing to the game. You're contributing to sports and the clicks and Twitter banter, but you're not contributing to winning. And if you're telling me this guy is the next guy when LeBron leaves is going to be him, he's overrated. Say what you want about LeBron James, and yes, it was the weak ass East, but Braun was brawling in the East early on. Got snuck into a finals in 07. We right now we can close our eyes and we'll tell you right now, Luka not taking nobody to the finals. We're not scared of Luka in the finals. Was Steph Curry scared of Luka in the finals, in the conference finals a couple years ago? No. Wait a minute. They beat Dallas in the conference finals, right?
They did.
That's right. And Golden State came into their crib, took their cookies. Did Andrew Wiggins throw it on Luka in that conference finals? Listen to me. Luka Doncic, until proven otherwise, to me, is overrated. Until those stats are equating to massive levels of impact and winning at a high level. I'm talking about 55 wins in the regular season and a finals appearance at the very least. He's overrated. All he is a talking point for NBA fans like us to either love him, hate him, or call him overrated, or say the team is failing him like we just did with Mesito. We got to move on. You know what I mean? We got to talk about somebody who deserves to be talked about at the highest level, because I believe that this player, Anthony Edwards, is the next face of the NBA. They're already saying that he's Michael Jordan's unsanctioned son. You know what I mean? Like he didn't sign the papers at the hospital. Because when you look at the kid, you look at his face, you look at the body, pause. This guy is the next coming. You know what I mean? He got a little bit of that Mamba in him. He got a little bit of that MJ. Like you said, we was texting him. He got a little bit of that Shaq in him, the little goofiness and things of that nature. Anthony Edwards, to me, Mace, is a person that the league needs to forget all these other narratives. Outside of Wembanyama, that's the only person who's exempt from this conversation. Outside of Wembanyama, everybody else that you are positioning to be a face, get rid of them. You have your face. He's in Minnesota. He's 6'7", and you know what? We got to talk about it right now. He has a sneakers that the streets are sanctioning. They're kind of fire. They got a little Yeezy aesthetic about them. I'm seeing people who don't talk about basketball posting his sneakers on Twitter saying, yo, these is kind of fire, I might cop. So he's checking all the boxes to me, and the basketball is there. He's carrying a team that nobody thought would be an elite Western Conference team. They're top 2 right now in the West. They're doing big things, and he's looking as every fourth quarter goes along, Mace, he's looking scarier and scarier and scarier. This is the person you need to vote for, Mace, the next face of the NBA, Anthony Edwards.
Listen here, y'all. Let me take the Pace and Space audience behind the curtain a little bit. Jaw was on this early, man. Jaw was on this Edwards bandwagon. Jaw was on it early. I was fighting it. You know what I mean? And I was fighting it for rightful reasons. For reasons that the basketball gods would appreciate. Listen, I watched Kobe go through this with Mike. You know what I'm saying? I seen the difficulty they gave. They like, and it's not just Kobe. You know what I mean? Kobe is just the one who succeeded. I seen what happened to Penny. You know what I mean? I seen what happened to Grant Hill. You know what I mean? I see what happened to Vince. And Vince had a long, extended career, but Vince wasn't MJ. You know what I'm saying? Listen, so I was fighting it, Job. I have to admit, I was fighting it. You know what I mean? I didn't want him to fall to the next, you know what I mean? And I didn't even want to think of him. I was kind of hating a little bit. I can't even front, you know what I mean? But listen, the man is a two-way player, and a real two-way player. Not those fake two-way players who you never see lock anybody up. You know what I mean? Like Paul George. And speaking of Paul George, when he locked him up, Job, I had to text you like, hold on, man. Did you just see this? You know what I mean? On the whole possession, just locked him up. I'm sorry, Job. That's a real two-way player. You know what I mean? How did you feel when you saw that play?
Listen, man. Mamba-esque. We saw the text immediately. And we don't see guards in today's NBA who are asked to carry a team, take that defensive challenge at that level. And it's like to see Anthony Edwards step up and rise to the occasion against one of the premier wings in the NBA is quite impressive to me. Like, again, like, listen to me. If I look closely and I squinted, I saw an 8 with an afro. You know what I'm saying? I saw an 8 with an afro. Looking at a dude like what was that kid who came out of Kentucky and he went to the Blazers? I forget his name right now. But locking down, looking at a Manu Ginobili, locking down. Oh, you my competition? Looking at a T-Mac. Oh, you my competition? Locking down. Looking at an Iverson. Locking down. Derek Anderson was his name, who played for the Portland Trail Blazers. Locking down. Scotty, you play with Mike? Let me show you something. Locking down. So when I see that at that point in the game, because it's not, the fans of that other guy we mentioned earlier, they'll show some first quarter highlights. We're talking about a turning point in the game, late third quarter, on the road, national televised game. Best player on the floor for the opposing team at that moment. Kawhi's hurt. Said, PG, we're taking you out the game. And he did that. Ripped them, finished it. And then what did I text you? I said, we won't see PG try to get active again until halfway through the fourth quarter. And lo and behold, around a 5-minute mark, he's trying to do his little post-up thing again. I said, look at this. PG knew what it was. Right. After that, he got ripped. He got embarrassed. We got to watch Podcast P to see what it's hitting for about that play. But to me, I'm seeing a little Mamba blood. I'm seeing that black cat. You know what I mean? I'm seeing a different energy. I just need him to lose some of that Shaq, mates, and embrace who you are meant to be.
Listen, the GOAT, he locked up according to Kiyan Anthony, right? The GOAT, Paul George, right? Listen, and you speak about the comparisons. I even see a little Wade, especially, like the post pivot move that he do, you know what I mean? Then he hit the little banker, you know what I mean? The fade is all Kobe.
Do you see when he come off that curl, the catch off the curl with the fadeaway?
That fade is all.
Who's that?
Come on, man. Come on. With the MJ like athleticism though. You know what I mean? Like off the ground. You know what I mean? I don't remember.
Glide. It's not explosive. Man. It's a glide. You know what I mean?
Come on, man. Listen. So at the end of the day, the skill set is there. You know what I mean? I'm not mad at it, but Job, the reason that is cause for pause for me is the insanity there. You know what I mean? The insanity that separated Cole from AI and T-Mac. You know what I mean? The insanity that separated Bron from Carmelo. You know what I mean? Like, the skill set is there, the charisma is there. He's two-way. He's an athlete. He's skilled. He's charismatic. But is the insanity there to really take over? Does he not only want to be the best on the court, but the best ever, John?
You know what? It's a question of, for this generation of athlete and kid, because at this point I can call him a kid, because you know what I mean. I could based on the age difference, I could be his pops. You know what I'm saying? And the black don't crack, but believe me when I tell you, when you look at Ant in this era of kid Mace, the only way he's gonna lean into that insanity, from my perspective, is he'll need to be embarrassed. He's gonna have to fall on his face in the playoffs, because again, part of the positive of playing in Minnesota is you evade the media noise. You're not getting dragged. You're not. There's no questions. Like, they're not opening First Take and Undisputed every day with make sure they talk about Anthony Edwards. He's not there yet. He's not LeBron. He's not even Wemby right now. He's not Jokic. He's not even Jamal Murray as far as expectations are concerned. There's a litany of teams Jason Tatum went from MVP to not even in the conversation in about a week and a half. These are the guys who got to wake up to that type of thing. Draymond Green. I'm just naming names to give y'all an understanding. He wakes up and he can do whatever he wants to do. Could you imagine if Draymond didn't take the All-Star weekend seriously and did what he did? They would have had 3 segments of First Take asking if he needs more help. Was the help he got enough during his suspension kind of conversations? To me, for Anthony Edwards to take that next step of understand the severity of the situation, he's going to have to get beat in the playoffs. He's going to have to come up short in the playoffs and be embarrassed, be the favorite and losing like 5 games or outright get swept. And then become the topic of discussion in NBA circles and NBA media. And then and only then do I think he'll take that leap. What do you think about it? Do you think he even has that in him, Mace?
Nah, you know what? I'm not mad at that, because when I look at the GOATs, listen, I don't know. I can't tell you all from memory what happened to Wilt, you know what I mean, or Bill Russell, but listen, MJ didn't win a playoff game for his first 3 years, right? Kobe had the air balls out the gate, you know what I'm saying? LeBron didn't make the playoffs his first 2 years, you know what I mean? So the heartbreak was there early. They felt the expectation, they felt the weight. So maybe you're right. Maybe that is what Ed has to go through. You know what I mean? I'm not mad at that, you know?
But you know, he has all the tools, and the thing is, you know, pause, we don't like to talk about men's body. We know we got a couple of immature viewers. Shout out to the Rap Roundtable. You know how we do over there.
Right.
If you look at his body, he's not one of these skinny, athletic kids. This guy, he might be more Aki than MJ. And he's not even ripped. I'm just talking about the general size of him right now. Pause. Once he decides to really dedicate himself to the gym and cut that body fat, bro, you're not going to be able to guard him.
Listen, just like you say, we know about the immature watches, but I was sitting there watching, you know what I mean, with him and Wemby specifically, like, yo, but definitely with Ed, because just like you say, you compare him to MJ, but you comparing him to like second 3P MJ. Like MJ, when he was this age, was like 195, you know what I mean, maybe cracking 200. Like, I was like, yo, when he's like 26, 27, what is bro gonna look like? Like, is he just gonna be like looking like a Braun at shooting guard? Like,
he's gonna be like I think he's about 6'5" right now.
Yeah,
he's gonna be maybe 6'5", 230, bro.
That's what I'm saying, and not 230 like James Harden 230. You know what I mean? Like
230 Aki.
Listen, he's gonna be bouncing off of him when he's going to the lane. You know what I'm saying? This is what I mean.
And the next thing I'd like to say is, he's not a one-dimensional player, whereas he has a massive first step. He's a big-time athlete. Stop him from getting to the cup, and you neutralize him. He already has he loves the game as far as the complete. He put the work in.
Right.
He can shoot the ball from the midi. At all 3 levels, he can score the ball. So it's like, even as he loses a step and he gets to that 26, 27 age range, he's going to be an offensive beast, because he'll have every box checked, I should say. And it's like, that's the one thing I'll say about this modern version of the NBA that people don't talk about enough, because they spend so much time complaining, is that perimeter players now are way more skilled Their bags are deeper now because they have to be in order to get on the court.
Right.
Before, you could not be able to shoot and get to the rim and do things and do damage. But now you got to be able to shoot the ball. You got to be able to have a 3-point shot from every spot. You can't be Bruce Bowen and just sitting in the corner. You got to be able, if you want to be a face of a franchise, you got to be able to pull from anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Be able to, or when they change the defensive game plan, you say take this away. You have counters, and then you have a counter for that counter as well. So to me, when he gets to that level, I fully expect him to be a fully equipped NBA problem that the league needs to get behind. I think he's the next one. He's a little goofy. Maybe that goofiness is called marketability. He's American. He's funny. He's an athlete. He has fly sneakers. What more could you ask for, Mace?
He know how to go viral. You know what I mean? And really, you know our brothers from Gills Arena like to say 5-level scorers because the free throws are there and the post up is there too. You know what I mean? And one thing that, like, this is a player where you look at him, you like, he's a shooting guard. You know what I mean? Like, you know how it's hard these days.
He's not a combo guard.
Like, nah, that's a 2 right there. You know what I mean? So I appreciate, it's been a while since we've seen an actual 2 guard. And just like you say, as far as the bag is concerned, like, not calling them better players, but the Kobe MJ bag that's the bag you got to show up to the league with as the guard these days. You know what I mean? Like, that's how advanced the T-Mac bag. Y'all got to have that when you show up to the league. Like, Jalen Green got to show up with that. You know what I mean? And he's not even a top 10 shooting guard in the league. So just like you say, to exceed at the high level that Ant is right now as a young player, because if you talk about the top 5 2s in the league, Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker, whoever else you want to put in there, he's by far the youngest. So, listen, the sky is the limit. You know what I mean? But it's I don't know if I'm willing to go Mike and Kobe yet. You know what I mean? That's the sacred land, man.
For him to even seriously be in that conversation, we're talking about skill sets. But as a basketball player, he's going to have to win.
Right.
And I don't know if he's going to be able to win in Minnesota. I think the next evolution for him is to get this man out of that city. Put him in Chicago. I don't care. Just get him out of Minnesota. Get him in one of these big markets in the right time zone or the right uniform that people care about seeing. And I think the sky is absolutely the limit for Anthony Edwards. Let us know in the comment section, man. What do you think? Like, do you think are we bloviating? Are we doing too much? Is Anthony Edwards potentially the next face of the NBA? I think so. Mace is a little bit on the fence. Let us know what you think. But back in the 90s, there was a clear and definitive face of the NBA, and that face was Michael Jordan. He inherited the league from Bird and Magic, but if you're keeping it 100% funky, he inherited the league from Magic. For a second in the 80s, Bird had it, but then once the Lakers revamped some things and they went on that late 80s run, I think they won about 3 chips on the second half. Yeah, they won about 3 chips on the second half of that decade, and they lost a couple of finals. They were the final boss of the NBA. So I'll say it was Bird, Magic, MJ in that order. But the talk on Twitter is we're done with the 90s. The talk on Twitter is players from the 90s were not that skilled. They weren't that good. The talk on the 90s is MJ himself is a myth created by the media who could only play with one hand. Macito, are you done with the 90s?
We are absolutely not done with the 90s. Listen,
okay.
I sometimes I am done with the 90s, but not when it comes to basketball. I'm sorry, man. Not when it comes to the Gen Zers that are trying to erase the past in order to prop their favorite player. We know who they trying to say, right? We know this is who this is all about. That all of a sudden the 90s players are plumbers. Listen, y'all, this actually started from a guy named Mike Peake. And he started on TikTok, IG, you know what I mean? I know because I followed him. This is like 2-3 months ago. Even though it's just picking up now, this started a little while ago, y'all. You know what I mean? And it started as we're done with the 80s. That's how we started. It didn't pick up like the 90s did, clearly, because you know what I mean? The Jordan slender, that always worked. You know what I mean? But I followed because I saw a guy slandering. He was slandering Larry Bird and Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish. We done with the 80s, and I'm like, Celtics slander? I like this. But the thing is, Mike Peake is like in our age bracket, y'all. He's not a Gen Zer.
Oh, so he knows better.
He knows better. He knows better, y'all. You know what I mean? So I was a little offended when I saw this. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna lie. What was your first thought when this "we're done with the 90s" thing hit the socials?
how honest do you want me to be right now? Is the question.
Oh man, completely honest, y'all. That's what the people are here for.
When I saw that, I just saw another LeBron fan working way too hard to present an argument that states that he is the GOAT and MJ is not. And I just want to say, if you have to do all of this, play 1,000 years in the NBA, like you at year 21, still compiling stats. If you gotta run up the numbers so much, have so many voices, you got Nick Wright literally is part of your clutch wing. He's a voice. I didn't know that until a couple weeks ago, Mace, that he's represented by Clutch Sports. Yeah. Shannon Sharp apparently takes money under the table. You got these fans who need you to believe that he's the best. And I really don't want to come into this episode knocking him down, but I just need to say, if we have to do all of this in order to position you as number one, then maybe you are not it, my brother. It obviously not. We didn't need to do this for Jordan. We didn't need to do this for Kobe. They didn't need to do this for Steph, because Steph was in that argument for a second. You know what I mean? But once it was learned that Steph wasn't it, he's an all-timer, but he's not in that kind of, move him out the conversation.
Right.
Braun, at a certain point, you got to accept that you were not part of that conversation. And it needs to be said like this. I don't care what video you pull up or whatever you want to say. Like, we got to stop playing dumb. Everything evolves. Everything evolves. Basketball in the 50s wasn't basketball, in the 70s wasn't basketball, in the 90s wasn't basketball, in the 2010s wasn't basketball right now. So you can't keep doing these player comparisons and basketball comparisons and this, and this, because at the end of the day, it works in both directions. Like the physicality of the game, half the NBA wouldn't be able to play in the same 90s that we're speaking about. Because that physicality and you getting grabbed and touched, all these little frail body boys, when he's hand checking you and he's holding you by the hip and you can't go nowhere and the ref isn't calling them, or when you're talking about a gather step, but it's a travel, we can say we're done with the 2020s. There's aspects of every variation of the NBA you can think of to where there's pros and there's cons. So again, if you gotta drag down something to prop something else up, then you are not it. Let me remind you before I pass it to Mace. I'm not a Jordan fan. He's not my guy. I only learned to respect Jordan because I felt in my heart, it's like, I look crazy celebrating Kobe and not being a Jordan fan. I had to go backwards and do the knowledge. I didn't respect Jordan and like Jordan until well after he retired, because I look stupid loving Kobe when he mimicked a lot of his game. But Jordan at the peak of his prime, fuck you take the retirement out. See, I'm cursing. See how y'all got me tonight? Take the 2 years out, because them don't count. A year and a half, because it came at the end of one season.
They don't count, man. So
he retired for a year and a half. He played a third of a season in a playoff. 6 full seasons at his peak. 6 consecutive championships. Unheard of in modern sports. Let me repeat that.
Every year.
Let me repeat that. 6 full seasons. 6 consecutive championships. Not finals appearances. Shout out to Braun's 10 straight or whatever it was. That's nothing to flick your nose at. But again, we know the East was trash. We got to keep it 100 here. If you pulling up footage about the 90s and saying they wasn't this, then we got to say that the East, during LeBron's 10 years of dominance, was absolute horseshit. And he built up rosters that were unfair in each of them 10 years, with the exception of the last year in Cleveland, when he really did that.
Right.
But 6 straight years, 6 straight championships. I don't need to say nothing else.
Listen, y'all, and it's actually 10 finals, 8 straight, because we know as soon as he went to the Western Conference, he didn't even make the playoffs that first year. But I'm glad that you mentioned the generation.
Appreciate that correction. 8 straight. I'm giving him too much. You're right.
Of course. You know what I mean? You might have counted that sweep in 2007. You know what I mean? Your mistake. You know what I mean? But, I'm glad you mentioned generation, because, Job, if there's anything I review the footage. I go through the footage. So this whole left hand thing, Jordan, when Jordan was a young player, he didn't favor it. He can always finish left. He didn't like the dribble left. There's a lot of players who have weaknesses when they come into the league. LeBron has striking weaknesses. Kobe had weaknesses when he came to the league. Look, everybody does. Wemby has weaknesses right now. You know what I mean? But Job, I've gone through the footage. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, listen, you know what's very viral right now? The whole Jokic Duncan thing, right? Like they're showing how in Duncan's last year, Jokic's first year, Duncan went crazy on him. You know what I mean? We saw the old Duncan go crazy on a young Jokic. 2 games. I think one game he might have hit the game winner. You know what I mean? But I've also seen a young Duncan, you know, get tore up by old Hakeem. You know what I mean? But I've seen a old Kareem tear up a young Hakeem. You know what I mean? But I've also seen an old Wilt go crazy on an old Kareem. So don't think that anything is as far as from the older generations as you think. I've seen footage of somebody who you think is futuristic getting beat up by old players. You know what I'm saying? And speaking of footage, y'all, let's this week done with the 90s craze. Even though I don't know if you noticed, they're showing like 80s footage of Jordan. They're saying we done with the 90s and showing like footage from like 87 Jordan. I don't think people are even realizing that. But you know what I mean? I don't want to hear anything when that Lakers Westbrook footage hits and they say we done with the 2010s, because that's as ugly as it gets. I watched a 15-minute low lights clip of Westbrook the other day. You know what I mean? So when they show, you know, LeBron James getting face guarded by Boris Diaw, overweight Frenchman in the NBA Finals, getting dared to shoot a jump shot like Rajon Rondo in his prime. When that footage hits and they say we done with the 2010s, I'm not saving anybody. That's all I'm saying.
And that's what I mean. It's like, I think that's the thing that I hate about this current era of NBA fan in some regards is the active use of misinformation to make points. Like you could, because you take advantage of the fact that people really don't do research. They just believe what they see on the internet. So if I pull up some 80s footage of Jordan and say he couldn't go left, Joe Schmo that's 12 years old in middle school, he not gonna do no research. He don't care. He's 12. So he's just gonna believe what he sees on the internet. Again, 6 straight championships. That guy was giving his going left. The power dribble pull up left, power dribble pull up right, fade away over each shoulder. And the thing is, I value the fade away over each shoulder because I told Knicks fans this thing. It's such a random tangent, but it's important to the point. I told Knicks fans Porzingis wasn't it when I saw that he couldn't shoot the fadeaway going over the left shoulder. He could only go and shoot the fadeaway from his strong side. And they was like, "What you mean by that?" I said, "All right, you're gonna see. Where's Porzingis now? A third option or fourth option, depending on the night, on Boston."
Listen,
it takes a certain level of skill. Rod Strickland, you could copy and paste him right now, and he wasn't even all world NBA. He was an all-star, but he was part of the Rogues Gallery of point guards during that time. Kevin Johnson, copy and paste right now. He would dominate this NBA because the game is so spaced out. Defense doesn't exist anymore.
Oh.
So again, let's say now this new commissioner tweaks the league and he gives defenses some advantages. In 10 years, it's going to be difficult to watch this version of the NBA because there's matador defenders all over the place. You know what? An Anthony Edwards defensive stop stood out because we don't see that anymore.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So it's like when we watch this game and we watch guys travel, we see no defense. We see like these long gaps for driving lanes in the playoffs. Remember when getting to the basket was a celebration in the playoffs? Now all you gotta do is LeBron do the same thing. Stick in the corner over here. Let me get another guy over the corner over here. AD, get out the way. Let me ruin your game so I can have this driving lane to the basket that I won't use in the fourth quarter, mind you. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to shoot the free throws if I don't have to. You know what I mean? And again, it's not 100%. He does it sometimes. I'm just slandering at this point. But it's just like every offense is structured the same way. That's not basketball. Where's the motion? Where's the creativity? Where's the pin downs? Where's the screens? You know why Golden State is so beautiful to look at? Because they play pure basketball. You know what I mean? But at the same time, on the defensive side of the ball, it's like, ooh, what is this? And again, we got to say, like, every era has their warts. Were there some plumbers in the 90s, Mace? Yes.
Of course.
Would Clarence Weatherspoon be able to play in this version of the NBA? No.
No.
He wouldn't. You know what I mean? So stop the lying, in my opinion.
And I'm glad you said copy and paste, because I promise you, y'all. I promise you, and I'm not gassing it. I'm not even a Jordan guy. You know what I'm saying? You copy and paste 93 Jordan, nothing new, no advancements, no practicing against modern athletes. Copy and paste 93 Jordan in the league right now. He's everything Kawhi is, and that's he never even seen a Steph Curry in his life. Don't raise him from 1985 till now. You know what I mean? Don't let him be born. Don't let Michael Jordan be born in 2000. I promise you, I'm not here to say Mike would average 45 a game in
But
a
you said
triple double.
93 Jordan. That guy might in this league where there's no defense.
Listen, he might. I wasn't even trying to gas it, but listen, man. Listen, the guy's skill set was flawless. I get it's hard to imagine that somebody in 1993 had a modern skill set, but that's the thing about Jordan. When you watch them, it's like watching a player from the future got dropped in 1990s.
You said Kawhi now. You said so basically you're saying you're getting Kawhi now with more athleticism, more tenacity, a better jump shot, arguably an equal defender. What are we talking about? It's
plays 82 every year, not 82 every 3 years.
82. You know? The only, and you know what? Again, because we got to be fair. The only true argument, and I don't understand why it's not used enough in both directions. The only true argument you can have for an era-to-era comp right now for the 90s to right now is pace. That's it.
That's it.
That is the only caveat in either direction. Jordan might be tired if you copy and paste because the pace that the league is playing at right now is fast forward compared to 1993. Mm-hmm. So he might be winded having to play that many possessions back and forth. But then on the flip side of that, if you have lesser possessions, some of these guys who benefit from those from those more possessions in today's game who have those inflated stats, what would the impact be if you have less opportunities with the basketball? To me, pace is the only argument we can truly debate and say who's who and what's what in this current landscape.
In the 3-point shot, you know what I mean? And that's why, you know, that's basically it. How you know, even a starter player has a 35% 3-point shot now, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now, you know, maybe if you had to, you know, bang around with more muscular players and every time you drove, somebody gave you an elbow or somebody was hand checking you, maybe them legs would be a little bit more tired, you know what I mean? And you won't be able to, you know, hit that 3-pointer at that pace. You know, it's plenty of things you can say that, you know, that from each era. But the thing is, I'm very much of the thought that the greats are great in every era. Just like you say, I'm not saying Dave DeBush is an all-star in 2024, guys. But we talk.
Tyrone Hill can't play in today's NBA.
Nah, I don't think so. You know what I'm saying? You know, but the thing is, the players who are there just now, you know what I mean? Back in the day, the default skill you had to have was defense. Now the default skill is shooting. So the players who have all shooting, no defense, wouldn't be able to play back in the day. The players who were all defense but no offense wouldn't be able to play nowadays. That's really the player who would get substituted in each era.
Okay, I see Division Mace. Again, you know, we need the interaction. We want to hear what you got to say. Are you done with the 90s? Do you agree or disagree with what we have to say about this particular topic? Or maybe shed more light. Maybe we left something out that could change the argument for pro today or pro 90s. Let us know. But again, a staple of every episode of Pace to Space is when we take a journey around the league, around the NBA. You know what I mean? But we're not going to start in the NBA. I kind of like what the tone we set on episode 2, Mace, where we went in to the ladies realm,
right,
into the college realm. On Sunday, we had a game that I watched front to back. I didn't expect all the action that I did see, but LSU versus South Carolina. Now, I had a keen interest in that game because South Carolina undefeated, and you know, and like seeing an undefeated college team try to make history. They pulled the rabbit out of the hat against Tennessee the day before with that buzzer beater. Yeah, against the defending national champions, conference rival, starring Angel Reese and LSU. I'm like, this is a doozy of a game. Oh, yeah. I gotta lock in. And the women's game, fair is fair. The women's game today is not the women's game that I watched. when I was like a little kid. Like the pace is a little bit higher. The spacing is better. You know what I mean? The skill is to me, that's again to go back to the last segment. The skill for male and female ball players right now is the highest it's ever been. You know what I mean? You love to see it. The skill level is there, and I'm enjoying it. Please don't hit me with the misogynist talk and this and that. I'm just telling you from what I see from my vantage point is that the game has elevated on the women's side, and I'm more inclined to watch. I'm enjoying what I'm seeing. I'm not tuning out because it's quote boring or I just have a linear, a much younger male point of view back in the day. But now I'll be watching these games. I'm like, oh, it's tight lit. If I don't got nothing to watch and I'm scrolling through and the game happened to be on, I'll stop. I'm locking in with Shorty from USC. I watched that game as well when they played Stanford. But LSU, South Carolina, game was intense. That game was physical. I'm not surprised that at what happened because throughout that game from I saw a lot of forearms. Angel Reese and the center from South Carolina, whose name
Camila
Cardoso from Brazil. Like they was getting to it. Reese literally in her ear
from the open
while they jostling for position in the paint. And I'm like, this is what I like to see at the college. Because the thing is, the men's college basketball ranks is not hitting the same for me anymore because of the one and dones. Because the thing is, back when I was growing up, a lot of players, they gave you at least 2 years. And some of the decent players, they stuck around. So when the rivalries hit, they really hit because these guys were playing against each other for a minute. Now it's just a transactional relationship. They come through, they play a year, they leave. So the rivalries don't actually land. But on the women's side, some of these players, they do it in 3 years. They do it in 4 years. It's a blood feud. And you saw that spill over onto the basketball court. I love the game. But I will say this, Mason, I'll pass it to you and I'll ask you what you think. Mm-hmm. I think that the referees are to blame for what eventually transpired in that game because I saw almost too much physicality. I know it's a championship game, but I believe the referees didn't do a good enough job to control the action early on in that game. What do you think?
Listen, I think and this spilled over even from the game they had a month ago against each other. That was an intense game as well. Mm-hmm. They was yapping back and forth then. Just like you say, two of the best in college basketball. And I took a look at the men's prospects right before we recorded this because I wanted to know. I don't even know any of those guys, y'all. I know the foreign guys. I know the guys who are in the G League. So the women's game on a college level is where it's at right now. I want to, you know what I mean? South Carolina, coached by the legendary Hall of Famer Dawn Staley. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Best coach in college basketball, if you ask me. But listen, when you talk about the refs let them go. You know what I mean? And I think that's a staple of the women's college game, job. Like they were letting them jostle. It was very intense, but it's like, listen, we weren't about to foul anybody out. You know what I'm saying? And Jav, I want to be honest. This is what ended up happening because just like you say, we ended up getting Flaujae from LSU's brother running onto the court. Mm-hmm. Camila Cardoso, as you mentioned her name, she got a lip bust. You know what I mean? It was an intense thing. You know what I mean? But this is a staple of the college game for women, Job. I'm gonna be honest with you. The women get it popping on they do, Job. You know what I mean? We watching LSU and South Carolina go at it right now. But do you realize there's been brawls in the women's college game where up to 5 to 8 players have been ejected 3 times in the last month. This happened in Arkansas State versus Southern Mississippi. This happened when Arkansas played Vanderbilt. This happened when TSU played George Washington. Do you know in Memphis and Bowling Green last year, there was a brawl on the court in which a player from Memphis ended up getting charged by the cops? That's how much the women are getting it popping in the college basketball scene. And honestly, we all remember the legendary WNBA brawl in 2008, the Shock and the Sparks. They got it popping. I remember Candace Parker in that one. Lisa Leslie. Did Bill Lambier get in the middle of that fight? Listen, if you want to say anything, maybe the women's game needs to calm down a little bit. They might have their malice at the Palace moment soon. But the women, listen, this is how intense the women's game get. You know what I mean? And they don't fake fight like the men do. You know what I mean? There'll be punches thrown in this one.
And listen to me. I got a lot of experience when it comes to the ladies and how passionate they get right before it gets violent. You know, one of my previous employers, I used to have to deal with that a lot. Put it to you that way. I know what it is. And that's why I say that the referees, in the first and second quarter of that game, when they saw the chippiness turning up, there should have been a couple of ticky-tack calls to scale back. I know you don't want to pull back their intensity because of the stakes that are involved.
Right.
But you got to do what's right for the good of the game, because it's a fine line. Sad to say it, I'm not saying this is my sensibilities, but for the common man, and I saw some viral videos that on Twitter where people that don't look like us were saying things about ladies who do look like us in a very racial manner. So it's like you got to be careful with that, because you don't want to mar the game with a misrepresentation when y'all all love hoop. Keep that energy a little bit to the minimum. I'm not saying scraps are not gonna happen, but let's not be so in tune to the violence. Scale it back a little bit. Have a little honor about it. You know what I mean? The boys, we turn up. We can have a whole argument with our friend on the court and then walk home together. Like, you got to scale it back. And before I pass it to you, Mace, I just want to say the thing that got me, I would have been cool with it. With that little, because it was really a hold me back at the end of the day. Yes, there was that big push, but this was a large scale hold me back. That goofy brother who hopped over to run on the court, just cornifying the whole situation. I am utterly and completely disgusted with that man. I don't give a damn. I know it's your sister, but your sister is on the basketball court. This is not an AAU tournament where we know how that go. You know what I mean? The security's shaky, the referee's shaky. There's no real safety. You're on a nationally televised basketball game. Your sister is on the defending national champions. You're on ESPN for the SEC championship game. Sit down. Let the coaches and security do their job, you clown. Like, what you there jumping over the fence for? Right, and then you got it was two other homies that was trying to get in, but security caught them. And it's quickly. Like, bro, like you forgot where you was at, Goofy? Mm-hmm. She got teammates and coaches that got her back. Like, what are you doing? Stop making us look bad, because you made us look bad, bro. Real talk.
He bugged out, Job. He bugged out all the way. And not only that, like, another woman pushed your sister. It's not like a man pushed her on the court. Your sister got pushed by another woman.
You know what I'm saying? So what were you about? She's like 7 foot.
She is. But Flaugier not small. You know what I mean? They women's basketball players. They on the court with each other. What was you about to jump on the court and scrap with Shorty?
Let Flaugier teammates handle that.
Let her teammates handle that. Let Flaugier handle that. Yeah, that was a bad look. And you mentioned something important, and that's, you know, I was tongue in cheek about all the scraps in women's college basketball, and there's been numerous. I didn't mention half as much as there's been, but you know, the thing is, on such a big stage, this is an important game. You don't want the most odds to be on you, and this is what happens. You know what I'm saying? That's a very bad look for a sport that's still trying to make headway as far as notoriety and as far as popularity of the game. These are women who are gonna be representing the WNBA soon. There was WNBA talent on the floor, multiple players, and so this is women that are gonna represent on the next level. It's a bad look. You don't want somebody to finally say, "Let me watch an Angel Reese game," and this is what happens when they watch the game. You know what I'm saying? It's a bad look. So I will. You mentioned that's a very important point. This was the national stage. This wasn't, you know what I mean, a game on ESPN3 that you had to figure out was on. You know what I'm saying?
On the Ocho, you know what I mean?
You know what I mean? The women's college game gets more notoriety than the WNBA. So it was a lot of people watching this. That was a bad look, especially with the brother getting on the court. I hated seeing that.
And then we gotta ask the question, just because we need to cover our base. You saw Angel Reese see what was going on, and then she took herself to the bench. She didn't even get involved in the hold me backs. Do you take any issue with her not involving herself in that situation?
Nah, not at all. I've seen LeBron do the same thing. I've seen Kobe do the same thing. When you're the most important player, you know not to endanger that. Whatever you can do on the court is more important than what you can do in that scrap. I wasn't mad at that at all. I think that showed maturity and leadership.
I absolutely agree, because there's so many like ridiculous people, unserious people on the internet who with this whole standing on business craze and ride for your homies craze. Like, this ain't the streets. This is basketball. And it's like you said, Angel Reese is the number one player, the face of the program, LSU. The tournament is around the corner. The same way Cardoso got suspended for the first game of that tournament, Angel Reese is 5 times the name that Miss Cardoso is. So you gotta put yourself in that position. And I always say this when we talk about the rap round table and we pot about rich people. I say we gotta be careful when we get in rich people business because they operate on a different tier than the common person.
Right.
It's the same thing with people with real notoriety. You got to stay out of famous people business. What you do as Joe Nobody, it's not the same thing that Angel Reese, who's a big time somebody, should do. Because not only will she potentially get suspended, now Angel Reese has to deal with all those talking heads who probably never played the sport talking crazy about it. Look about what happened with Caitlin Clark when she won the chip, how they was dragging it. Now they've been waiting to call her a little thugette the whole time. Let's call it what it is. They've been waiting for her to slip up so they can say, remember, look how they did Sha'Carri Richardson. Greater Sha'Carri did some things that, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, they were waiting for her to fail so they could drag her down. So you can't put your regular person sensibilities with people of real notoriety because she got to think about her investment to herself, her family, walking around campus, her name getting dragged through the mud in the media by people that don't look like her. Right. She made the absolute right decision, and you people on the internet are very disgusting. So, stop thinking like regular people and putting your regularness on famous people. Y'all are not the same. Oh, she didn't get involved with her friend ain't get involved. Then you could talk about her because she's regular. Right. Angel Reese had cameras on her, millions of people watching. I think that was the biggest audience in ESPN history, if I'm not mistaken, for a college basketball, women's college basketball game. So you got shut your regular asses up. That's all I'm trying to say. Thank you. Let's move on.
Knock it off.
Let's go to the NBA. See, I'm getting worked up. See, we love basketball.
Listen, man, y'all spitting facts, man.
Boston Celtics swingman Jaylen Brown liked the tweet where it said, I should say, that if Jaylen Brown was the number one guy on his own team, he would average 30 a game and be in MVP consideration. Is there trouble in paradise out in Beantown?
Listen, y'all, me and you, we subscribe to the cult of Bill Simmons. At least we did at one point, right? Mm-hmm. And what I remember him making famous was the phrase, the disease of more, right? Yes. How on championship teams, the second year, everybody wants more money, more shots, more playing time, more everything. And that basically, I think he got it from Pat Riley, a Pat Riley book.
Pat Riley's called it the disease of me.
Oh, got you. And he switched it to the disease of more. You know what I mean? Same concept. And so, a lot of championship teams deal with it. Some fight through it. Some could back-to-back. Some could three-peat, right? What's crazy about this is that this team hasn't won anything. And they're suffering from the disease of war. How could you want more when you haven't even gotten the ultimate prize? You know what I mean? Listen. As far as could Jaylen Brown average 30, everybody averages 30 these days, right? Probably, you know what I mean? And they say a left hand matters, right? He's averaged about 26, 27 before. I'm sure with a couple more shots, 5 and 6 more shots, he can get 30 a game. MVP candidate? No, definitely not. Not in the league with Jokic, right? Not in the league with what Shea is doing right now. You know what I mean? Maybe MVP in an All-Star game. Listen. By the way Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum operate on the court together, you can tell how they, you know what I mean? There was one point where you could tell when Jaylen Brown was about to take a shot. If Jason Tatum made 3 straight, Jaylen Brown is shooting, okay? And vice versa, you know what I mean? Each one of them want to outshine each other. So him having this sort of secret animosity, because this could only be, Jason Tatum is a guy averaging 30 and an MVP candidate on the team, right? So I guess he feels like he could be the Jason Tatum of the team. Listen, he couldn't be. Jason Tatum hasn't done anything. You know what I mean? So I don't know. You know what I mean? He's aiming to be another guy who's not the guy. You know what I mean? I don't know. Listen, Jaylen Brown, you know what I mean? Get on your burner like KD, first of all. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But, listen, this is just another reason that the Celtics aren't going to win a championship. Everybody was mad at me a couple months ago when I said Jason Tatum couldn't be the leader on the championship team. He was a fake fraud. And now the last week, that's all I've seen. You know what I mean? I don't know, John. What's
A
going on with you
visionary.
guys?
What's going on is Macito is a visionary. But you know what? You know what, Mace? This is where I'm going to take it. A few years ago, yes, we're going back in time. A few years ago, they vilified Kyrie Irving for what transpired his third year, I believe, in Boston. Because the first year, no, it was the second year, because the first year they almost got to the final. He got hurt, and he went 7 with the Cavaliers. But before he got hurt, they were 45-17. Clearly the best team in the Eastern Conference. Odds-on favorite to go to the finals. LeBron James was there, and of course he would have been a factor, but a healthy Celtics team with Kyrie Irving does not blow a Game 7 at the crib against LeBron. No disrespect to the LeBron fans out there. The following year, being that Kyrie was hurt, we have players like Terry Rozier elevating their position, Jason Tatum elevated in their position, and Jaylen Brown elevated in his position. Kyrie returns, wants to reset the pecking order. This is my team. Gordon Hayward's coming back off of that nasty ankle injury. He was supposed to be the clear-cut number 2. And what happened, Mace? There was a conflict of interest on that Boston Celtics team. Nobody knew their role. Brad Stevens was proven to not be a leader of men. He took himself out of the coaching situation and went into the front office. But I looked at that team and I said, you guys are blaming Kyrie, when in all actuality, players had a lot of ego, didn't want to go back to their initial role prior to said injuries, and that poor chemistry led to players leaving and not winning a championship. A lot of people pushed back and said, oh, John, what are you talking about? It's Kyrie's fault. The earth is flat, etc., etc. Now, fast forward to right now. What do we see? A like tweet like that? Ego. Going off schedule. Not being pro-team. I'm not saying he's selfish, but there's a bit of self-centeredness in that action. And that stems all the way back from then. The ego been there. Like you said, if Boston's on a run and Jason Tatum is Jason Tatum, and you hear that a few times, Jaylen Brown's taking that shot because he can't be outshined. Everybody, the whole hood know that's Jason Tatum's team. You Mace, you number 2. Wear that. Wear the leather number 2 jersey. But he can't handle it. He couldn't handle him. Rozier, Tatum couldn't handle Kyrie telling him to play their position. This ego disease of me, when you haven't even won, is a shit. I'm cursing again. If you look at the playoff run, I'm pretty sure there was plenty of empty possessions that led to losses. Because a lot of times people only see the end of the game, but a lot of times in the playoffs, it's an accumulation of poor decisions that lead to a loss. On offense, it's an accumulation of bad possessions or bad decisions. A lot of times when I watch basketball games, you know what I say out loud, Mace? That's not the shot you want when I'm watching it by myself. And when you watch the Celtics play, there's a lot of that from their star players, especially Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
You don't see Tatum wilding with some of them shots late in the game. If anything, he defers too much. So, with that being said, this long soliloquy, I just wanted to point out that the Celtics still have a chemistry problem. They still have an ego problem. They do not have the right coach, and that is a red flag, because that means to me in the playoffs, you're going to be thinking about the Sports Center highlights Tatum's going to have, and when Doris Burke or that fly honey that everybody loves is doing the interviews, and she's not talking to you, she's talking to Tatum. I'm concerned about the Boston Celtics.
I'm concerned. And the thing is, the ego is all within that dynamic. Because let's be real, y'all. They have those high IQ, unselfish guards. Derek White is Chicago Bulls Ron Harper reincarnated. You know what I mean? We know what Drew Holiday has provided to championship basketball. Porzingis is just happy to be in a winning situation. He gonna do whatever you ask. It's really just between those 2 guys. It's always been those 2 guys. They got rid of Marcus Smart. They got rid of Grant Williams. They got rid of everybody who made the Celtics the Celtics. It's just these 2. You know what I'm saying? And these 2 have. Listen, man. This is a hell of a line. This is a hell of a supporting cast. Prime T-Mac would have loved to have this supporting cast. You know what I mean? Cleveland, first Cleveland era LeBron would have never left Cleveland if he had this roster. You know what I mean? This is a roster that should win, so there has to be something going on beyond the surface that's not lending itself to winning in chemistry.
And it sure looks like the common denominator are the two survivors of that young core. Because like you said, Smart, gone. Williams, gone. Kyrie, gone. Gordon Hayward, gone. Isaiah Thomas,
gone.
before them, gone. Terry Rozier, gone. There's other like forwards and
Robert Williams is out of there.
Gone.
You know what I mean?
The outside of, to me, I'm not counting Al Horford. I'm talking about the young guys who are supposed to be the infrastructure that hold up the organization. These two are the only ones left. And if you ask me, they should have kept Marcus Smart and made a decision about one of these two, because at the end of the day, yes, this is a length league. Yes, this is an athletic league. But to me, I've always felt like these two players are not meant to be together. Jaylen Brown is meant to be the third or fourth option on the championship team. He thinks he's more than what he is, but he's really not that guy. Jason Tatum is a high-level 1B. He's not a 2, but he's a 1B on a championship team. You need to split them up before one of them walks, or they both end up leaving, and you're back at square one with no championships and a lot of failed expectations. Well, let's head out west to close out this episode. Yeah, I know we can't end Pace and Space without talking a little bit about them Lakers. Macito, you threw it in our conversations about LeBron James contract extension talks. Like, has there been any motion, positively or negatively, or not?
There hasn't been any motion other than the motion when LeBron was in between Jeannie and the other young lady, you know, the other day on International Women's Day. That's the only motion that I've seen, you know what I mean? But as far as the free agency, I think listen, Joe, just like you say, we're a little bit long-winded, guys. We get it. But as far as LeBron free agency, this is where I stand right now. He's looking for 50, 60, about 3 years, right? That would put LeBron at 42. I don't think the Lakers should do it, but I absolutely do think they will do it. I think it means a lot to the Lakers organization to have Wilt Chamberlain and Magic Johnson and Kobe Bryant and LeBron James retire in Lakers jerseys. I think LeBron is still the biggest star in the league. I think it's like him and Messi and some other international star who still are the three most popular athletes in the world. Might be probably Ronaldo. Right. And so I don't think that there's anybody right now who on a talent level, on a star level, are available to the Lakers. I don't think there's a guy that's willing to take on the challenge that Kobe always spoke about, being head of the Lakers organization. So I think that I think he's going to end up re-signing with the Lakers just because, you know, the Lakers love stars, for better, for worse.
Well, I agree. I want to start there. I fully expect that a deal will be made because Jeannie, family business, optics, the history, the next GOAT in NBA lore to retire in our jersey, that means something to the Lakers. I've also been on record saying that I felt like LeBron James wanted to be a Laker for a very long time, but was waiting for Kobe to retire. Let's say Kobe would have retired after the Achilles. When he left Miami, he was going to LA. That's what I believe. I think Cleveland was a detour while he was waiting Kobe out. Because you always thing is, if you follow the league, there was always whispers about LeBron in LA. And it was never the Clippers. From the time he bought that mansion in Los Angeles, it was spending time out there in the summer. There were rumors. There were photoshops of LeBron in a Laker jersey at least 6 years, 5-6 years before it actually happened. It was always in the ether. There was even light rumblings of maybe they could play together, that they being Kobe and LeBron. And a part of me wishes that he didn't have such an ego that he didn't feel like him and Kobe could have coexisted. Because Kobe, at the end of the day, Kobe would have been the best thing for LeBron. Because Kobe, this is always the misconception that you can't play with Kobe. Kobe knows how to play ball. He knows how to play with anyone. Only thing Kobe takes issue with is if you don't work. And if you don't work, get up out of here. Braun and Kobe would have been unfair for the NBA. You think Chris Paul and Kobe would have been unfair? Braun and Kobe? But nevertheless, I think LeBron has always been attracted to the Lakers. He's always been attracted to NBA lore. He's been attracted to being the face of the league. And to do that, you got to wear our jersey. It is what it is. the person that I think is going to throw a wrench in that situation is Rob Pelinka. Rob Pelinka has been playing hardball with Clutch Incorporated from the time LeBron landed. He doesn't want to play the coaching firing games. He doesn't want to play the GM games. He's not going to move on LeBron time. And there's been constant friction and constant back channeling from both sides to the media. So I think Genie would do it, but I think Rob Pelinka is going to push back against it. And don't be surprised. I got no facts, but don't be surprised that if it gets to a point where Genie says that we're doing this and Rob says no, that you get a random alert saying that the Lakers and Rob Pelinka have decided to part ways this summer. Because this is going to be a stopping point, this particular contract, Mace.
Listen, that's an interesting point, y'all. That's an interesting point. They would choose LeBron over Rob. Yes. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know if Rob would die on the cross, if you will. Over it. You know what I mean? I think he would play ball. He played ball and got Westbrook, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, like, even though
that's where the relationship went sour, because he played ball. He listened to AD and Braun. Right. Got Westbrook, and then Braun tried to throw Pelinka under the bus.
But you think he gonna pull a Magic? I'm not gonna be here. You think he gonna pull one of those?
And Robert Killer, he got Magic out of there.
I would hope not, because I think that would just give Clutch more control over the Lakers front office. So I really would hope that wouldn't happen.
This is gonna be an interesting summer because LeBron can walk, right, as well as D'Angelo Russell. The Lakers organization is in flux, low key right now. This article comes out. I think Dave McMenamin wrote this article, and D'Angelo Russell at a certain point, I don't know when it happened, but he's become very unfiltered.
Yes.
And in the midst of this article, essentially throwing Coach Ham under the bus. Well, we know Coach Ham ain't that. We know what it is.
Right.
But he intimated that Ham's relationship with Dennis Schroeder, as well as people like Taurean Prince, and even number 5, are the reason why the Lakers are in the situation they're in, because he plays favorites with plays he's familiar with from Atlanta. The quote here says, his being Schroeder's relationship with Darvin is the reason I couldn't have a relationship with Darvin. When I was struggling, I would have been able to come to the coach and say, bro, this is what we should do. Like, I can help you. Instead, there's no dialogue. I just accepted it. And we got swept, and I'm here and he's not. I like our chances. So he's saying that not only did Ham play favorites, but he wasn't even communicating with D'Angelo Russell. What do you say to that, Mace?
Man, y'all, this is my first time actually hearing the entire quote. That's kind of wild, right? That's kind of wild. And you want to know what's interesting, Jav, is that there's been rumblings on like NBA Twitter amongst like the Lakers. You know, the Lakers brain trust on Twitter. You know the guys, Jav. You know what I mean? About Coach Ham having favorites. You know what I mean? But I always felt like it was like a Lakers fan joke type of thing. You know what I mean? So to hear D'Angelo come out and say that on a big level, like, yeah, it was favoritism going on. Yeah, for Dennis Schroeder, no less. Like, this is crazy. You know what I mean? Like, Dennis Schroeder wasn't even better when Rondo was on the team. So, you know, it's very interesting seeing D'Lo say that. You know, I feel like he's very emboldened because of how great he's been playing recently. He's been on a tear. He's been playing the best ball since he's been a Laker, if you ask me, in either stint. You know what I mean? So, listen, D'Angelo, I'm not mad at him. You know what I mean? He's a free agent. He's playing the best he has in years. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, call out the coach. Call out the inept coach. Call out the guy who's asleep at the wheel, who's picking his own guys who aren't effective over you, a clear all-star level talent who have brought a team to the playoffs yourself as his first option. You know what I mean? Put some respect on D'Lo's name. You know, listen, I'm not mad at it. D'Lo, speak your truth, brother.
Hey, and you know what? I gotta blame the Lakers front office for this as well, because I think part of Russell's treatment is because when he signed that contract, everybody knew that the way the contract was structured, it was for him to eventually be traded by the deadline. Whatever was supposed to happen with Kyrie Irving didn't quite materialize, and they decided to bring back Russell, but he had basically a 1-and-1 with a player option on the other one of that, which means he can opt out. So it will be in the Lakers' best interest to trade him for a piece, which was probably going to be Zach LaVine, from the Bulls, but that didn't work out.
Right.
It was supposed to be Murray from the Hawks, but that didn't work out.
Right.
So now we're in a bit of a limbo, and I kind of feel bad for him as a person because it's like the coach treated you like you wasn't going to be here anyway, so why need to put respect on your name? But at the same time, it's like, Ham, you're not even safe in your position. So you might want to put respect on this. And if you're telling me the option is play him or Cam Reddish, aka number 5, and Taurean Prince, and like I said on episode 2, I got it from a high-ranking source that Darvin Ham likes to play people that reminds him of him, as well as the Atlanta connection. You look like a complete buffoon. Because again, say what you will, even with him not communicating with D'Angelo Russell last season, the Lakers went on a Western Conference Finals run in spite of him. And their best 5 on the floor did not have Schroeder. D'Lo was balling, and you know what? But we got to say it. D'Angelo Russell had a strong playing game. In fact, he was the one who brought us back in the playing game. Strong first round, strong second round. He faded in the conference finals, and now all of a sudden, because he faded in the conference finals, the narrative is he had a bad playoffs. And I'm like, whoa, I don't remember that. He played well enough. He had the worst possible conference finals you can have. Yes. But without him, the Lakers don't get to the conference finals in the first place. This is bad. This is poor management, poor leadership, and poor X's and O's. To me, D'Angelo Russell felt disrespected by his coach. I don't think he feels emboldened. I feel like he looked at the situation like, this guy's been disrespecting me. I've had enough. And my balling has proved that this guy's a buffoon. Now I'm going to air him out every chance I get. That's what I think.
Lakers fans will find this very reminiscent, and obviously D'Angelo is not Pau Gasol, but basically when Pau ended up leaving for the Bulls, this is what he went through with Mike D'Antoni. There were plenty of trade rumors. Pau was traded everywhere. You know, D'Antoni at one point didn't even want to start Pau Gasol. Lakers legend, retired number Pau Gasol. Mike D'Antoni didn't want to start him. And eventually Pau just got fed up and left. So I could very much see D'Angelo just getting up out of here, keeping his head low for the rest of the season, because it don't look like we're doing very much damage. I gotta be honest. It's the Western Conference. Anything could happen, but we not looking great. You know what I mean? But listen, D'Angelo, whether it's like I say, whether he's emboldened, whether you say he's just fed up, either way, Darvin Ham deserves it.
And it's like, we've been talking about it off the record about his body language, the facial expressions when certain people communicate with him. He has been disgusted. He being D'Angelo has been disgusted with this situation for a while. And he's already been through media scrutiny with Swaggy P to where he's not afraid of walking into the locker room after saying what he said. He's not afraid. He done been through it already with a teammate. And he does, and you know what this tells me? He does not respect Darvin Ham. This is a clear indication to me that Darvin Ham he's not respected by D'Angelo Russell, because D'Angelo Russell, in fact, feels disrespected by his head coach. And now it's gotten to a place where it's very personal. And I think that there's been little darts about D'Angelo questioning the coaching as it was. And we even joked about it in the game with the highlight package that we just showed. The play that they drew up, Darvin Ham was barely part of the play being designed. Again, texting you as the game is going on. I say, yo, they're not even paying attention to this guy. I think Dinwiddie was talking to D'Lo, and Braun was literally talking over Coach Ham's head, and they were drawing up the play while he's just there looking up at them and asking questions. So you're not even an active coach in clutch time. You are a buffoon. So to me, D'Lo, if you feel disrespected, talk your talk, because you've been walking that walk, and we stand with D'Angelo Russell here at Pace and Space.
Listen, if anybody on the opposite side of Darvin Ham, Pace and Space stands with you, okay?
Okay, V. Listen, at this point, this is our longest episode. We cooked.
Thanks.
The energy was right. The topics was right. You know what I mean? Episode 3, one for the books. Maxito, take us home, man.
Hey, man, that's the point guard. You know what I mean, Jaw? The point guard, that's what they call him on my block. I don't know about y'all's, but that's what they call him on my block. I'm your boy, Macito, and this is Pace and Space, the best NBA podcast out.